Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto had the power of Darkblade and wielded a scythe part 2? If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, the darkness is growing stronger. Naruto is no longer just discovering this power, he's beginning to control it, and that makes him even more dangerous. Now, let's start. Naruto didn't know how to feel as they traveled closer to Tetsuna's home. The man had lied to the village about the mission they were doing, but he had done it out of necessity. Worst case scenario would be that his teammates would learn about him. The Black Rock armored dragon was ready in case Naruto needed him. Unknown to Imp, or perhaps the dragon did know but Naruto didn't, the blonde wanted the dragon close to him, not to fight but to keep it safe. Imp was his first friend, but sometimes he wondered if the dragon thought of him the same way. The more he got educated, the more he questioned the creature that had been at his side since his birth. He had asked the Hokage how he obtained Imp. The village leader simply said that Imp just showed up one day in his nursery, and since then both have been inseparable. Naruto appreciated everything his friend had done for him. From scaring off attackers to stealing food when they were not allowed to buy any. Not to mention it carried 2 scrolls that seemed like nothing made by human hands. He just accepted the fact that his scythe was brought to him by Imp. The thing he didn't understand is that the scythe always stayed taller than him. He had never given it an upgrade besides the seal to summon it, but the weapon would always tower over him. And he never needed to sharpen it or worry about it cracking since it never showed signs of wear. He trusted the Hokage, and Imp even more. He just didn't like the fact that they were hiding something from him. He just hoped that it wasn't something too big. Naruto turned to look at his teammates. Sasuke was leaving 100 openings as he walked without a care in the world. Sakura on the other hand looked like a nervous wreck. She would turn to look at every little noise. Seeing her teammate and leader get killed was a bit too much for her, even though both had used an illusion to trick their opponents. Tetsuna seemed more calm since he no longer had to worry about the Konoha nin abandoning him. Sakura was so busy looking around that she didn't notice the root sticking out. It caught her leg and she fell. Sakura closed her eyes waiting for the pain to come. Surprisingly, it never did. Instead, she was lifted in the air by 2 hands. She turned around and saw Naruto had saved her from humiliation. He gently put her on the ground. She looked at the black silk that shielded her face. These last few months they had spent as a team had rid her of all the fear she had of her fellow shinobi. She took a deep breath to thank him, before he rushed her into the ground. Sakura wondered what was happening but saw that Kakashi had pulled the client down as well. Sasuke had dove to the ground. Not being used to dodging that way, the lone Uchiha had his butt sticking out in the air. Sakura looked up and saw Naruto get up. He lifted her as well since he had used his forearm to prevent her head from getting hurt. Team 7 and the client turned to a large tree with a ridiculous size sword buried in it. A few moments later a man appeared, just like the 2 that had attacked near the village. This man was from Kiri. His face was wrapped with bandages only showing his eye, and the fact he had no eyebrows. He had arm warmers with a cow pattern, at least that's what it looked like to Sakura. He had baggy pants and was standing with his back to them. Naruto let go of her and got behind Tetsuna before Kakashi told them to use a formation. Sakura felt a dark air come from the man, but the feeling got worse as Kakashi began to release his own. Then Naruto followed, making her. Sasuke and Tetsuna turned to the side user. He brought his scythe out and had it in a defensive position. So this is what happened to the Kakashi of Konoha. Stuck babying children that play ninja games. The man said as he looked down on the genin. What about you, Zabuza? Have things been so bad that you are now the Shushin boy for a crime lord? Kakashi said, making a tick mark grow on Zabuza. Just hand over the old man and your team can walk away. No reason to shed blood for the guy. Zabuza said, making fear grow in the old bridge builder. That sounds good. Too bad that he is a paying client. We need to finish the mission to get the rest of our money. Kakashi said, making Tetsuna release a sigh. What a shame. Zabuza said as Kakashi lifted his hayate. The genin found it strange since they figured he lost the eye during battle. Then Sasuke snapped right before he started to point at Kakashi and rambling something Naruto didn't recognize. Bringing the Sharingan out so early, I feel honored. Zabuza said with a dark laugh. Sharingan, isn't that Sasuke's bloodline? How did Kakashi get an eye? Is he a mixed breed or something? Naruto thought as he felt imp crawl out from his cloak. The dragon moved into the tree lines, not once triggering the humans to pay attention to him. It was a basic demonic trick to use their chakra to cloak themselves. He could stand between the two Junin and they wouldn't notice him. The golden blonde smirked since he had learned the basic of the trick but just needed to perfect it. Imp sniffed the air and release a light snarl. Another one, but it's too far to attack, unless they use jutsus. I'll keep an eye on that one. Naruto thought as he saw Sasuke begin to give to the bloodlust. Damn it, how am I supposed to kill him when I can't even stand this? Sasuke thought as he wanted to cut himself to end his fear. Don't worry Sasuke, I'll never let my teammates die in front of me. Kakashi said with a smile as the fog around them grew stronger. We'll see about that, Zabuza said before appearing in between the genin and Tetsuna. Sakura and Sasuke looked with horror as the man looked ready to attack, but then burst into water. What just happened? Tetsuna said before they saw electricity around them. A lightning trap, seems you have one descent student. Zabuza said from a safe distance. Who is he talking about? Sakura thought before they turned to Naruto. His left hand was charged with blue electricity and was sending pulses down his body and filling the ground around them. You won't be getting near Tetsuna anytime soon. Knowing Naruto, he probably started the trap as soon as you popped out. Kakashi said with pride. Sakura looked around her and was amazed. It was like a circular net of electricity was running around. Had they taken one step they would have triggered it. Sakura released a sigh when she noticed it was big enough to keep Zabuza and his sword from reaching them. Naruto, how long can you keep that up? Kakashi asked, making Naruto just look at him. A moment of awkward silence filled the air before Kakashi did his Konoha famous eye smiles. Keep up the good work, Kakashi said before trying to search for Zabuza. If I get rid of the brat then the problem is solved. Zabuza yelled as the sound of the sword cutting through the wind came again. Naruto turned and threw his scythe. It cut right through the weapon but it became water. Another whirling sword came from Sakura's direction. She threw kunai at it but it remained unfazed. Naruto's chakra spiked and a bolt of lightning shot out from in front of Sakura, destroying the weapon into its watery form. You're mine, Zabuza yelled as he appeared upside down and ready to cut Naruto in half. Sasuke threw kunai only to have them parried away. At the way we're so close he can get the four of us with one swing. Sakura thought before she heard the sound of something cracking. Zabuza swung, hitting nothing but air. Naruto used his pitfall jutsu to have everyone escape. He used the quick distraction Sasuke made to set up his next jutsu. Kakashi thought as the genin and Tetsuna looked up to see Zabuza miss. Doden, Zabuza said as he looked down at the pit where his targets were at. It caught me off guard too, Kakashi said after appearing and stabbing Zabuza from the back. The earth rose and bringing Naruto and the others back to the surface, just in time to see Kakashi get kicked into the lake. What's wrong with this water? Kakashi said before Zabuza appeared behind him. Suiten, Suoro no Jutsu. Zabuza said as a sphere appeared around Kakashi and lifted him in the air. Sensei, he's a water ninja, Sakura yelled, making Kakashi want to hit himself. Get out of here, he won't be able to keep me here if he has to chase after you. Kakashi yelled from his water prison. I don't have to do anything, Zabuza said as he made a one-handed seal. A clone of water began to form out of the lake's surface. Let me show you what it means to be a real ninja, Zabuza's clone said before charging the group. 6 puffs of smoke appeared in front of the water clone. 6 Naruto clones blocked his charge with their scythe. Naruto had summoned his scythe while in the pit, which is why it took him so long to raise them to ground level. The clones were attacking in waves, making the water clone get farther towards the lake. Sasuke, they're clones, we don't have to worry about hurting them, Sakura said as she launched a wave of kunai and shuriken. It cut into the back of one Naruto clone and continued towards Zabuza. The elite ninja tilted and allowed the weapons to fly past him. Sasuke had finished his seals before launching his favorite jutsu. The large ball of fire incinerated the clones and continued to travel to the formal Kiri Junin. The rogue nin growled in rage before jumping to prevent the jutsu from hitting him. Zabuza would have charged again had not a wave of kunai from Sakura stopped him. The rogue turned to block a kick from Kakashi. It became water before he drew his sword to block a kunai stab. You can't use my tricks on me, Zabuza said in rage before having to look up. Naruto was coming down with his scythe ready to slash. Zabuza tried to pull his sword, but the Kakashi he had been fighting had grabbed onto the part used to pin his opponent's head. Zabuza let go of his sword and jumped back. Naruto turned towards him as his scythe knocked the blade to the lake's edge. A kunai appeared in his left hand before he launched it towards Zabuza. The Junin drew a kunai of his own to block but found it pointless since it became 100. He cut the chakra feed to his legs and sunk under the surface, avoiding harm. Zabuza saw Naruto swim away, but at the moment he had to get his sword. He stopped when he sensed Kakashi's chakra. "I told you my tricks won't work on me," Zabuza thought as he made seals. "Naruto, that was careless, and how did you get so high?" Sakura asked as she came to help him out of the water. The hydro prison Kakashi had set up made it hard to break from the surface. Naruto wrapped Sakura in a hug before a water dragon smashed into them. Sakura blushed before hearing the roar of the water dragon collide with where they had been. Sasuke grabbed Tetsuna and jumped into the air when he saw Naruto and Sakura disappear with Shushin. The dragon returned to the water but not before making a lunge at Kakashi, ending the water prison. Naruto landed on a tree branch, he let go of Sakura and she turned towards him. She had never seen her teammate look so tired. Naruto turned towards a tree line as Kakashi and Zabuza continued to fight. Sakura wondered why he launched kunai. She soon got her answer when a masked nin shot out towards Zabuza's sword. It sealed the weapon into a scroll before putting a tree between them to watch the fight in peace. Could it be an ally of Zabuza? Sakura asked her teammate. She knew he was trying to figure that out as well. A few moments later the stranger launched Senbon at Zabuza, piercing his neck. Kakashi had slammed Zabuza into a tree and injured him with kunai. The Kiri nin had tried to get up but then the Senbon hit, making him fall as dead as a log. Naruto and Sakura watched as Kakashi exchanged some words with the masked nin. Kakashi was relaxed as the nin lifted Zabuza. A roar came from the side and imp slammed into the back of the masked nin. The three bodies rolled on the ground before the masked nin broke free and disappeared with Zabuza. Naruto took Sakura close again and used Shushin to appear next to Kakashi. "I guess this means that Hunter Nin was a fake," Kakashi said as imp crawled up to them. It reminded Naruto of a gorilla walking since his front legs were twice as long as his rear legs. The dragon had some clothes in its mouth. "What is that?" Sakura asked as Naruto let her go and walked towards imp. "That's imp. You can consider him Naruto's partner. I feared the worst when he didn't brought it with him before, but I guess it has always been hiding somewhere," Kakashi said as he lowered his height. "Is this?" Sakura said as she brought her hand up to imp's mouth. She grabbed some of the clothes and yanked it. The dragon was unfazed from the rude action. "What is it?" Sasuke said as he and Tetsuna walked next to them. The Uchiha was talking about imp. "This is silk, and the design I've seen before," Sakura said before one thought came into her head. The piece of clothing was cute. "It's a panty, a girl's panty," Sakura said, making imp nod his head. "So that masked guy was a girl. Could have fooled me," Tetsuna said before Kakashi almost fell over. Naruto appeared and caught his sensei. "I'm just a bit tired, the Sharingan drains me," Kakashi said before standing on his own. Naruto went to a branch and cut it off with his scythe and then tossed the wood at Kakashi. "Thanks for the walking stick, we should go before they decided to attack again," Kakashi said as Team 7 followed Tetsuna home. A few miles from them the fake Hunter Nin was yelling about imp ripping her favorite lucky panties. Zabuza woke up and saw his tool look at its own butt. He decided not to bother with it and yanked out the Senbon from his own neck. Iruka and Mizuki looked at their class with new motivation since Naruto had taught them the joy of teaching. They wondered how their favorite student was, since they just heard he had taken his first C rank with his team. They knew the blonde was able to handle it but couldn't help worrying about the others since they had never really had a challenge in the academy. They hoped for the best before pushing their students harder than they had with Naruto's class. The Chunin decided that a little more hard work would never do a shinobi harm. They would let the children rest when they were passed out from exhaustion. The Hokage was a bit worried when a patrol came in after capturing two mist nin that had been tied up on the road to Wave. He let out a sigh before deciding to let Team 7 handle whatever problem was happening. If Kakashi and Naruto needed help they would ask for it. Naruto turned to look at Kakashi when the Junin had tried to wake him. Imp lifted his head from the ground and walked after them. There's a chance that those two will attack again, Kakashi said, making Naruto nod his head. But something seemed weird. Kakashi said, making Naruto nod his head once more. They were rogues, but they didn't go full out, even if they were testing our skill. Kakashi said, getting a nod from Naruto again. I'm going to send word to the village to check in on those two, maybe we can find something useful. It's going to be a while till I'm at 100%. Until then you need to look after Tetsuna. I'll be training the others on tree climbing to improve their chakra control. You already know that, right? Kakashi asked, getting another nod from Naruto. Can you get him to send us word if you are in trouble? Kakashi asked, making Naruto look at the dragon. It nodded its head before letting out a yawn. I want you to wear this until I'm at 100%, that would be a week at the most. Kakashi said as he brought out a seal. It's a chakra draining seal, it will make it harder to move. If you run into trouble, have Imp rip it off your back. Kakashi said as he placed the seal above Naruto's clan symbol. Let's hope some dumb luck falls in so that we can prepare properly. Let's get some rest, tomorrow is going to be the start of something big. Kakashi said as both used Shushin to enter the room. Naruto had seen Kakashi leave a few seconds before him. He put the blame on the new seal Kakashi placed on him. Morning was a bit chaotic since Sakura had woken up to go to the restroom. She had finished relieving herself and was going to flush before a hand came from the curtains of the shower and stopped her. Sakura jumped in fear and embarrassment. She looked at the ground and found Naruto's clothes and Scythe. Imp was laying on the ground looking at her with a sparkle in his eyes. Naruto let go of her hand and closed the curtain. I'm so sorry, Sakura said before rushing out of the bathroom. What's wrong? Sasuke said as he tried to reach for the door. No, stop, Sakura said, making the raven-haired boy look at her. Why? Sasuke said, making Sakura blush. Naruto is in there, taking a shower. Sakura said, making Sasuke look at her with shock. Didn't you just? Sasuke said, making Sakura nod her head as her blush grew strength. So what did he look like? Sasuke said, making Sakura pause. I don't know, I only saw his hand. It was a bit foggy, which is why I probably didn't notice anything. Sakura said before the sound of the toilet flushing came from the bathroom. Naruto came out with Imp on his shoulder. He walked past both Genin and headed to the kitchen to eat. Awkward, Sasuke said before noticing Sakura had gone in the bathroom again. Sakura, open up, Sasuke said while pounding on the door. Sasuke, Kakashi said, coming from the room he had been allowed to use. Give the girl some privacy, it's rude to rush people, Kakashi said before going to eat. Sakura was eating as Sasuke came down with a mad face. You didn't leave me any hot water, Sasuke said as he glared at his team. That's the reason we woke up early to bathe. I pulled rank to make Naruto wait until I finished, Kakashi said with his eye smile. You better hurry up, kid, otherwise you are going to be left behind, Tetsuna said with a laugh. Actually, since Zabuza was put in a near-death trance, it's going to be a while until he recovers. I would say a week. Before that happens, I will be giving them a special training course. In the meantime, Naruto is going to watch over you, Kakashi said as Sasuke glared at his rival. Sakura felt a bit left out since they were genin, but Kakashi seemed to have so much fate on Naruto. That's fine with me, but what if you're wrong? Tetsuna said, making everyone look at Kakashi. Naruto has a lot of experience keeping away from people stronger and faster than him, also Imp will know where to find us, Kakashi said, making the black dragon give out a roar. Then let's go, kid, the earlier we start the faster that bridge gets finished, Tetsuna said, getting a nod from Naruto. Oh Naruto, see if you can put this to good use, Kakashi said, handing Naruto a fishing pole. Naruto took it and was surprised 4 small scrolls were attached to it. Good luck, Naruto, Sakura said before the side user left with Tetsuna. You two done yet? At this rate Naruto is going to get farther away from you, Kakashi said, making Sakura and Sasuke feel bad. They quickly finished their meal before running after the Junin. Kakashi lead his students into the woods near Tetsuna's house. This is a trick that if learned properly will increase your strength tenfold, Kakashi said, making the genin look at him with disbelief. What is it? Sakura asked. It's called tree climbing, Kakashi said, making the genin had leave them. That's not possible, Sasuke said as Kakashi walked up the tree with ease. The trick is to use chakra to stick to the wood. Since you are just learning to do this and were in a hurry, you are going to run up the tree, use a kunai to mark how far you have climbed. Kakashi said as he threw the weapons needed to his student's feet. Does Naruto know this? Sakura asked as she took the kunai. Yes, he does. He probably knows a few more advanced things since he had obtained private training. However, that is why I'm here to help the two of you. Kakashi said with his eye smile. Begin, Kakashi said as his students ran up the tree. A smile grew on him as Sakura reached higher than Sasuke. The Uchiha grew with rage since he was behind both of his teammates. Sakura landed on the ground and was breathing hard. My body hurts, how does Naruto do this? Sakura said to herself before running up the tree again. She felt terrible since she wasn't able to reach her original height. Sakura has more control but her chakra reserve is extremely low, while Sasuke easily beats her in chakra but his control is terrible considering the jutsus he knows. Iruka and Mizuki really knew what they were doing when they trained Naruto. It's almost impossible to find someone as balanced as him. They made my job a lot easier. Kakashi thought as he saw his students train. Naruto made a clone do some fishing while he opened the first small scroll. To his excitement there was a jutsu for him to start learning. Naruto made 4 more clones to watch around Tetsuna and his workers before using chakra to walk under the bridge to train on his new jutsus. Imp stayed on the top since he was needed in case the clones had to fight someone. Imp spent his time helping Tetsuna by carrying material to the workers. A whistle sounded and Naruto came back from the bottom of the bridge. The workers gathered their tools and prepared to go home. As they came to end of the bridge a small group of mercenaries appeared. Gato sent us to send you a message. One mercenary said before rushing the frightened workers. Imp rushed from Tetsuna's side and slammed on the chest of the close's mercenary. The man looked in horror as the dragon growled in a predatory way. The dragon raised its tail which showed a rock blade tip and stabbed it in the man's head, killing the guy before he could scream. One mercenary tried to hurt Imp but he was cut in half by Naruto and his scythe. Naruto spun his scythe until it was on his back with the blade near his feet. His chakra spiked and the futon jutsu he used on Kakashi unleashed on the mercenaries. They flew high into the air, their body filling with wounds from slashes the wind would do. They fell to their death from over 50 feet in the air, some were unlucky and fell into the sea. Naruto walked over to a body and a small stream of fire launched from his left hand. It stopped when there was nothing left of the dead mercenary. Imp would just grab a body and toss it into the sea since a few predators had gathered. It took Naruto 10 minutes but he properly disposed of the dead. The people of Wave were a bit uneasy about what they saw but after remembering the wrongs Gato and his men did they went to celebrate. That was impressive, Tetsuna said as Naruto looked at him. Let's go home, Tetsuna said before both traveled to his house. The people in Tetsuna's house were surprised at the large amount of different sea creatures Naruto had caught while fishing. It seemed the cooler Naruto had was especially made for hunters and allowed for large creatures to be sealed in it without them going bad. Tsunami took Naruto to nearby houses and gave some of the food away. Naruto didn't care since it was a clone that did all the work. That night they got to eat shark, which apparently was Tsunami's specialty when it came to cooking. Kakashi asked Naruto how it had gone in the bridge and Naruto just lifted his right hand to say it was okay. Which Tetsuna found shocking, so he told everyone what happened. If you ever need help make sure to call us, Kakashi said in a lazy tone. Go away, a little boy said from across the room. He had his head sticking out from the hallway. Inari, be nice. Tsunami scolded her son. But they are going to make things worse. Gato is going to get mad and he is going to hurt people again, Inari said as he glared at the shinobi. No one is strong enough to beat Gato, Inari said before running upstairs with tears in his eyes. That was interesting, Kakashi said after the room had gone quiet. Naruto stood up and took his plates to the sink before Imp crawled up his back and had his head over Naruto's shoulder. Sakura couldn't get over how dangerous the two looked. If you're going to do some evening training, make sure to take it easy, Kakashi said, getting a nod from Naruto. You two should go sleep soon, we got a lot of work to do tomorrow, Kakashi said before going to sleep. Sakura saw Sasuke leave but she wasn't ready to sleep yet, but at the same time she was too tired to train. Instead she decided to see what training Naruto did on his own. She walked towards the sound of battle and saw as Imp and Naruto were sparring. The black dragon would jump and dodge as Naruto tried to strike him with his scythe. Imp would counter-attack by sending a ball of lava at Naruto. Sakura watched for 2 hours before deciding it was time for her to go. Especially since Naruto didn't seem to notice her. This was the routine for Team 7 as they awaited for the rogues to appear once more. On the last day, Kakashi decided to let Naruto sleep in since the blonde had done escort duty by himself for so long. Naruto appreciated the gesture, but in reality he only needed few hours of sleep. He was eating with Inari and Tsunami. They were always the last to eat before the door broke open from an attack. "We're here for the woman," a samurai said with malice, but it toned down when Naruto stood up and brought his scythe in a swing-ready position. Naruto's scythe's blade was twice the length than a normal one and it was 4 times as thick. It was designed to slash things with ease. The samurai charged since it was going to be hard for Naruto to attack with the scythe. Inari looked in awe as the ground broke in front of Naruto and the 2 samurai fell. Naruto looked down before waving goodbye. The ground closed as the samurai screamed before being crushed. Inari and his mom looked at Naruto with awe and fear before he made 5 clones to surround the house. Imp climbed up his shoulders and both disappeared into black smoke. Naruto had finally gotten his custom shushin to work. Sasuke dodged an attack from the masked nin before they charged at each other again. Sakura was amazed at the speed Sasuke had gained, but she knew it lacked what Imp had done against Naruto. She wondered how strong the side user really was. She jumped when she saw him appear next to her. That wasn't a normal shushin, otherwise we would have sensed him or heard him appear. Naruto is proving to be far beyond his peers. It's going to be fun showing him off, Kakashi thought as they continued to watch the fight. That's the brat that caused me a lot of problems. And that thing on his shoulders is. Zabuza thought before Haku screamed in rage. You're that monster that ruined my lucky panties. Haku yelled after Imp pulled the ripped piece of clothes out of a bag Naruto had gotten him. Before anyone could react, Haku charged at Naruto. The side user jumped back as Haku was bombarding him strikes using her Senbon light kunai. Naruto twisted and turned while using his scythe in an attempt to counter-attack. Haku would duck and strike at the temporary openings Naruto's scythe would give. The two continued to battle, leaving Sakura and Sasuke speechless at the speed they were showing. "She's faster than Naruto," Kakashi said as the cloaked figure kept getting pushed back. "That boy has skills," Zabuza said as Naruto kept reading the way that Haku would attack. Imp was using his tail to throw in a few hits every once in a while. Haku jumped back as Naruto did a slash and Imp almost impaled her with his tail. "Maku Hayusho," Haku said as ice came from the water on the bridge. Zabuza had surrounded Team 7 with clones when they first arrived, but Sasuke had disposed of them. "That boy won't survive now," Zabuza said as Haku's image began to fill the ice mirrors. "This is my fight," Sasuke said as he tried to run in. "You won't last long in there," Kakashi said as a wave of Senbon rained down on Naruto. Some would bounce off his cloak, but a few hit their target. Sakura flinched as Naruto fell to one knee from a Senbon hitting a pressure point. Naruto yanked the Senbon out and threw it from him. "You will pay for my damaged lucky panty," Haku said before a second wave of Senbon rained down on Naruto. Naruto jumped to one direction and spun his scythe, deflecting the Senbon in front of him. He waited till the last second to move. Doesn't matter how fast Haku is, once those Senbon are in the air he can dodge them. But how long can he keep up? Zabuza said as Naruto tried his hardest to keep the Senbon from hitting him. Naruto rolled to dodge on last attack before getting close enough to stab at a mirror with his scythe. Haku jumped out at the last moment and threw a Senbon into his shoulder. "That's not possible," Zabuza said after the scythe stabbed into the crystal. Naruto pulled it out before yanking the Senbon on his left shoulder. His arm went limp after doing so. Naruto looked around as the Hakus around him were studying him. "That weapon is stronger than anything I have ever come against, since it can break a mirror," Haku said as Naruto prepared for another attack. Haku's attack came, and to everyone's surprise Naruto did nothing. "Ow," Haku said while on the ground. She looked in front of her and was surprised at what she had found. "What just happened?" Sasuke said after a dome of rock appeared inside the ice crystals. "It's become Naruto's victory," Kakashi said as Naruto charged the confused Haku. They saw when Naruto slashed Haku with his scythe. Sakura flinched in horror. She had never expected her teammate could be so heartless. No! Haku yelled as she covered herself. Naruto hadn't cut her in half, he had completely slashed her clothes, making it along with her mask fall off. Haku was whimpering while trying to cover herself. Naruto threw a black blanket on her before the stone dome returned to the bridge. The ice mirrors soon melted since Haku wasn't concentrating on them. Haku stood to attack, but the blanket came to life and wrapped her up into a cocoon. All that is left is you, Kakashi said, making Zabuza growl. Before the two Junin could charge at each other, Naruto appeared with his hands open. He pointed at the sea and they could see a boat heading their way. That's Gato, Zabuza said as the boat got closer. Naruto handed the rogue a telescope. Why is he bringing mercenaries here? Zabuza said with rage. This is probably why, Kakashi said, handing a scroll to Zabuza. The night before, the messenger Hawk had returned with the information Kakashi had requested. So he plans to betray me, Zabuza said as the boat docked at the end of the bridge and the mercenary army reached the top. What's going on here? You were supposed to kill each other, Gato said in rage. I quit, Kakashi. I don't have a reason to kill the old man anymore, Zabuza said before Naruto put his scythe in front of him. The pig is full of money, what's stopping us from taking it? He is a crime lord, there is nothing in this world that will mourn his death, Naruto said, making Zabuza smirk as Team 7 was left speechless. I like the way you think, kid, Zabuza said as both stepped forward with their large weapons drawn. Don't think you scare me, Gato said as he started to walk behind his hired goons. Naruto and Zabuza charged the mercenaries, both using skill and power to overpower the poorly trained men. I'm tired of just watching, Sakura said before running and kicking a man in the head. Looks like Sakura got stronger. Let's go, Sasuke. This fight might be dangerous for our client if it gets out of hand. Imp, keep an eye on Haku and Tetsuna, Kakashi said as the dragon stood in front of the wrapped-up girl and Tetsuna. 40 minutes later, Naruto stood behind the crime lord as Zabuza walked up to him with his sword drawn. Stop, I'll pay you if you let me go. You won't be able to get my money without me, Gato said with fear, making Zabuza pause his attack. Shinobi always have a way to get what they want, Naruto said before decapitating the crime lord. To everyone's surprise, Naruto did a backflip and went over the edge of the bridge. Fighting was heard from the boat before Naruto appeared with a treasure chest in his hands. His side was dripping with fresh blood. Naruto put the chest on the ground before raising 7 fingers to the others. So he has 7 more chests in that boat. I think 2 chests for Zabuza and Haku is fair, 4 for Wave and the last one for Konoha, Kakashi said as Team 7 along with Zabuza disappeared towards the boat. Zabuza was carrying 2 chests and each member of Team 7 had 1. Kakashi, do you think you can do me a favor? Zabuza said as Tetsuna and the genin were counting the money. What is it? Kakashi said, looking at Zabuza. I'm going to stay here with Haku and the few other rogues I have with me. With this bridge completed, it will bring more money to the country. I want to set up a shinobi police force here since small countries are allowed to make them, Zabuza said, making Kakashi nod his head. Sounds good, but the daimyo of Wave was killed by Gato, so you will have to stay in hiding until a new daimyo is picked, Kakashi said, making Zabuza nod his head. I know, but there is others in this world that will be more than willing to try and fill in the gap Gato left, Zabuza said, making Tetsuna laugh. They won't try anything with shinobi like you here, Tetsuna said as they closed the treasure chest. But what about real hunters? Sakura asked. Don't worry, Zabuza and his minions died in this mission. That's what we will report when we get home, Kakashi said with his eye smile. Do you mind protecting Tetsuna so that we can go home? Kakashi said, making Zabuza laugh. Please, that will be a piece of cake, Zabuza said as they began to head to Tetsuna's home. Good, then we will get our things, but if you try anything we will hunt you down, Kakashi said, suddenly disappearing and reappearing with a kunai at Zabuza's head. Kakashi's Sharingan was active and spinning as the rogue smirked. I'll be waiting, Zabuza said before Kakashi smiled and lowered his height. Let's go, we've been gone long enough, Kakashi said as everyone went to Tetsuna's home. Team 7 gathered their things and watched over as the money was distributed properly throughout the country's people. If you ever need a place to take sanction in, come to Konoha, Kakashi said, getting Zabuza and his shinobi to nod their head. Team 7 left on a boat as Zabuza and his shinobi walked over to the bridge to help. It was the least Zabuza could do since he had killed a few workers before the battle with Team 7. Team 7 arrived home with Naruto carrying the treasure chest, since it hardly fazed him. They entered the tower and saw Team 8 and 10 waiting. Sakura was confused since as soon as they came into the village Imp had hidden inside of Naruto's cloak. To the teams waiting to enter they were surprised to see Naruto walk past them and kick the doors in. "Ah Naruto, it's good to see your team made it back in one piece," the Hokage said as Team 7 entered the office. The other teams growled since the secretary closed the door and locked it. Naruto walked up to the desk and placed the treasure chest on it. "What is this?" the Hokage said looking at the box. "It's the payment from Tetsuna for AA rank mission. He asked us to assassinate a crime lord that had enslaved his country." Kakashi said, making the Hokage look at him. "I'll need a full report, but besides that everything seems to be in order," the Hokage said as Anbu took the chest and disappeared. "As a bonus for completing an A rank your team is given a week off with pay," the Hokage said with a smile, making Sasuke and Sakura look excited. "Team 7, you are dismissed," the Hokage said, making the team leave. "Kakashi, Naruto, may I have a word with you too?" the Hokage said, making both called upon shinobi to look at each other. "You guys go have fun, we'll celebrate another day," Kakashi said before his genin left. "Kakashi, I wish to know how Naruto should be ranked," the Hokage said, making Kakashi's eye grow. "Well, he is far stronger than a genin, there is no doubt in that. He is level-headed and knows the best jutsus to use during battle. I would say he equals any chunin available at the moment," Kakashi said, making the Hokage nod his head. "I see, then you see no harm if I send him to Iwa to take the chunin exam," the Hokage said, making Kakashi look at the village leader in disbelief. "Hokage-sama, it is almost impossible for a genin from Konoha to pass those exams. Rumors say that real chunin are sneaked in the exam to make it harder for foreign countries. Naruto is skilled, but things could get dangerous," Kakashi said, making the Hokage nod his head. "I know, which is why you and Hayate will take him. Iwa's chunin exams only accepts one student per exam slot, and you know they only give Konoha one slot. At the moment there is no genin who I see qualified to take the exam except for Naruto. Along the way I want you two to train him. I want Naruto to reject the rank, tell them this test was too easy. Once you come here you will take the rest test with your team," the Hokage said, making Naruto nod his head. "So you want to flex Naruto's power to the daimyos. At his current skill level he can pass the exam with ease," Kakashi said, making the Hokage nod his head. "Humiliate them. Our spies have gathered information that Iwa might be plotting something, we need to remind them of who won the war," the Hokage said, making Naruto nod his head. "How long till the exam?" Kakashi asked. "You leave today, I will keep the rest of your team busy. While in Iwa, gather as many jutsus as possible and tell us on the condition of their people. This will be considered an S-rank mission because if things go wrong it will be extremely difficult to patch things up," the Hokage said, making Kakashi smirk. "Since when are things easy?" Kakashi said before leaving with Naruto. "Plan for a month-long trip, get enough gear to fight off an army. And meet up at the gates in 3 hours," Kakashi said, getting Naruto to nod his head. Naruto returned to the gate to leave. Kakashi introduced him to Hayate and they left. Imp stayed hidden like always. Along the way Naruto was sparring with the two Junin as they helped fix whatever problems they saw. A week passed and they entered Iwa. Naruto looked upon the large village made inside a mountain valley. They were soon surrounded by Iwa Nin. Kakashi brought out the scroll for the Chunin exams. The Iwa Nin lead them to the hotel room they were allowed to stay in. The next day Naruto surprised his Junin senseis by showing what Imp had spent the whole night obtaining. "These are a lot of scrolls," Hayate said with a cough. "Keep up the good work, Imp. Let's go see how much Iwa changed after the war," Kakashi said before Imp swallowed the scrolls and crawled on Naruto. The three shinobi were amazed at how peaceful the place looked except when they noticed they were from Konoha. "It's a good thing Naruto has this hood, I wonder how they would react if they saw his hair color," Kakashi thought as they were overcharged for food. An Anbu appeared and gave them a message. They were led to an arena, where Naruto saw 30 different shinobi gathered. "Welcome everyone to the Chunin exams," the Tsuchikage said while standing on the rail that kept tall people from falling. "That is one tiny cage," Naruto thought, getting a nod from Imp. The golden blonde was standing along with the 30 shinobi. As you know, the Chunin exams consist of 3 rounds. In each round 10 shinobi will fight until 2 are left standing. The Tsuchikage said before an Iwa nin began to call out names followed by their village. Uzumaki Naruto from Konoha, the Iwa nin said with venom at the end. The other participants left leaving the 10 fighters. This round does not allow the uses of jutsus, only taijutsu and kenjutsu, the Tsuchikage said as Naruto looked at his opponents. Those are some big guys, I feel like they stacked the tables against Naruto. Hayate said as Naruto got into a defensive stance. True, but Naruto isn't a power fighter, he's a balanced one. Kakashi said before the fight started. Naruto jumped as 4 Iwa nin came charging at him. Figures. The Konoha nin and the Fire Country daimyo thought as Naruto had to dodge multiple attacks. Naruto jumped into the air. The exam proctor looked at a group of Iwa nin. No chakra yet. A medic said, making the people of Iwa boo. So they are checking to see who uses chakra to improve their attacks. Kakashi said as Naruto masterly used his scythe to parry a sword, he turned in mid-air and slashed the head of an Iwa nin that used a spear. Naruto landed on the ground and rolled before slashing the legs off a hammer user. Naruto jumped back and threw 5 kunai into the stomach of the sword user. He's slaughtering them, Hayate said as Naruto toyed with the nin around him. Naruto grows stronger as he fights, a trait that his Chunin instructors made sure to take full advantage of. Kakashi said as Naruto was the only nin standing, only the Iwa nin had been killed, but that was because they had tried to kill him first. Naruto was a proud believer of peaceful solutions. Uzumaki Naruto advances to the next round. The proctor said before Naruto disappeared with Shushin and appeared next to Kakashi and Hayate. Should we watch the next round? Hayate asked as the arena was being cleaned. No, Naruto needs rest, a fight like that probably drained him more than he shows. Kakashi said before they left to the hotel room. The next day Naruto stood with 5 other shinobi. One he noticed was from Kumo and there was something almost drawing him to the girl. Kakashi and Hayate noticed it as both seemed unable to stop looking at the other. Both shinobi were surprised when the 2 Kumo nin that came with the genin appeared next to them. That boy is a Jinchuriki. The darker man said, making Kakashi and Hayate look at him in shock. B is 1-2, the same as with Yugito. The woman said as the match was about to begin. I see, please don't say anything, Naruto doesn't know about the burden he carries. Kakashi said, making B look at him in disbelief. Only 3 are allowed to continue to the next round. The proctor said as Naruto, Yugito and Akiri nin looked at the 3 Iwa nin standing before them. We should work together, the Kiri nin said as the proctor went over the rules. I agree, Naruto said as he put up his scythe. The rule was that only jutsus were to be used during this fight. How do I know I can trust you? Yugito said as she looked at Naruto and the Kiri nin looking ready to fight. You don't, the glasses user said, making Yugito step back. But at the moment we need to cooperate to accomplish our mission. Naruto said as the proctor raised his hand. What mission? Yugito said as the hand came down. To bring down Iwa. The Kiri nin and Naruto said in union as they charged from 2 different sides. The Iwa shinobi made a boulder of stone before launching them at the foreign shinobi. Naruto disappeared with Shushin and appeared in front of the Kiri nin. I knew one of them was lying. Yugito said with rage. It left when Naruto cupped his hands and gave a boost to the Kiri nin. Naruto dove his arms in the ground, making 2 walls of dirt appear behind him and in front of Yugito. They took the attack of the boulders. Sweeten, Teppadama. The Kiri nin yelled before shooting balls around the shinobi, drenching them and the ground with water. Water conducts electricity, Naruto said, making Yugito hiss at him before charging a Raiden attack and zapping all 3 nin at the same time. Sweeten, Teppadama. The Kiri nin yelled before launching a large ball of water. Kaden, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Yugito yelled before shooting the large ball of fire. Futon, Daitapa. Naruto yelled before releasing a ball of wind. The 3 jutsus collide and grew into a massive ball of destruction. Chaos Strike, Naruto said as the jutsu smashed into the paralyzed Iwa nin. A powerful explosion made the arena quake before the 3 Iwa nin were sent flying out of the jutsu. Nice name you gave it, my name is Yuki. Soma Yuki, the glasses-wearing nin said after appearing next to Yugito. Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto said, appearing to the right of Yugito. Yugito ni. Yugito said as the three waited for the Iwa Nin to get up. The ones to advance to the final round is. The proctor said, making the crowd ready to cheer. The Iwa Nin, the proctor said, making Yugito and Yuki mad. You got to be kidding. B said with rage. This was a one-on-one battle, these three broke the rules by combining their attacks, the proctor said with a smile. Let the babies kept their Chunin rank. Naruto said, making his temporary teammates look at him. I don't want to get associated with such weaklings anyways. Naruto said, turning his back to the angry Iwa proctor. You're right, Naruto. If people learn we became Chunin at Iwa, they won't ever let us hear the last of it. Yuki said with a smile. I was hoping for a better challenge. I heard Konoha is going to have the exams next, mind showing us around? Yugito said as she walked between Naruto and Yuki. Sure, I know the best ramen stand. Naruto said before they appeared in front of the Junin that had brought them. Let's go check out and head home. Kakashi said, making Naruto nod his head. Killer Bee, the Thunder Rose, Sharingan Kakashi, Hayate of the Crescent Moon, and 2 swordsmen of Mist. No one will dare mess with those 6, and the students they brought easily have Chunin level already. The Tsuchikage said to his shinobi, making them stop from attacking. The 3 teams left Iwa with ease since they stayed together. This is where we each go our own way. Killer Bee said as the 3 teams looked at each other. You two take care, until the Chunin exams. Yuki said as the Kiri team left first. You promised me a ramen dinner, so don't die until you treat me. Yugito said as her team left. Sounds like you made some friends. Kakashi said with his eye smile. Naruto raised his shoulders in an uncaring way before heading to the village. He was not ready to have the 2 Junin continue the training on the way back. The return trip had taken 2 weeks since Kakashi wanted to push Naruto without his other students learning about it. Hayate found it fun to spar with Naruto since his usage of the scythe could be considered master level. They entered the Hokage office and the man had a smile on his face. You did well, word has reached about that combination you made with Kiri and Kumo. Here is your pay for the mission. Unfortunately, I don't have any more missions like that you can do on your own, the Hokage said after handing 3 checks to the shinobi. Hokage-sama, since I'm only going to proctor the exam, I can afford to do some missions that Naruto's skill can be used for. I noticed he is self-taught with his scythe, it won't hurt if I train him until the Chunin exam starts, will it? Hayate asked, making the Hokage think. It depends on Kakashi. The Hokage said, making the Junin look at the sword master and Naruto. Naruto needs to improve his speed. The best way to do that is to train with Hayate. Just bring him around every once in a while so I can give him a few things I see he could use. Kakashi said, making Hayate nod his head. Let's go, Naruto, we only have 2 months before the Chunin exams. Hayate said as Naruto followed him. A month had passed after Naruto started his training with Hayate and a woman with long purple hair. They were teaching him swordsman tricks on how to suddenly increase the speed of a slash. They also had him doing real fighting with them. Naruto was having a lot of trouble keeping up with them. They pointed out that imp worked as a limiter since the dragon weighed 30 kilos. Hayate had Naruto redo his kenjutsu training from the beginning. Both kenjutsu masters would advise Naruto on where they saw flaws. Naruto did 4 C ranks with Hayate and 3 B ranks, which made Naruto see that not everything was as easy as he thought. Naruto had been summoned by Kakashi since Sasuke needed another mission or was going to go crazy. Sakura and Sasuke watched as Naruto appeared with imp on his shoulder. They were surprised since the Hokage said Naruto had been helping at the tower with paperwork. Long time no see, I hope you know I've gotten stronger. Sasuke said with arrogance. Naruto looked at Kakashi and the Junin just shook his head saying no. How was things in the tower? Sakura said, making Naruto a bit confused. Kakashi-sensei has been training us a lot while you were gone. Sakura said with a smile. I can tell. Naruto said before Kakashi coughed and led them to the tower. Ah, Team 7, good to see you. This is your mission for today. There is a small bandit force near the border of Suna and Konoha. Remove them since a team from Suna is to come soon, wouldn't want any harm to come to them. The Hokage said as he gave the scroll to Kakashi. Team 7 traveled for 3 days before coming upon the area that was supposed to be the bandits' camp. Naruto threw his shoulder, making imp launch into the air. The dragon took off running on the ground before disappearing in the tall grassy land where they were traveling. I guess now we wait and see what Imp finds. Kakashi said after seeing Naruto sit down without a care in the world. An hour later Imp came out of the grass, it quickly jumped on Naruto and pointed towards the direction they had to go. Team 7 came upon a raided caravan. Bandits were looting the place while merchants were being gathered. Naruto prepared to move in, Kakashi placed a hand on his shoulder. Let's see how far those two can get without us, Kakashi said, making Naruto nod his head. In reality Kakashi wanted to keep Naruto's skills as much hidden as possible. Alright, you two go down there and get rid of those bandits. We will support you if we see it necessary, Kakashi said as Sakura and Sasuke disappeared. Naruto was amazed at how much Sakura had changed. She was beating the bandits senseless while never giving them a chance to strike. Sasuke was doing well too, but Naruto expected that much. Half an hour later the bandits fled from the area. Kakashi and Naruto appeared and helped in freeing the merchants and their families. So what do you think? Sakura asked, standing in front of Naruto. I've seen better, Naruto said, making Sakura a bit depressed. But not many, Naruto said, making her smile. Sasuke is still as overconfident as always, Naruto said, making Kakashi nod his head. The raven-haired boy was standing as if he had defeated all the bandits himself. He got injured twice because of it, Kakashi said, making Naruto nod his head. It should lessen with you around, Kakashi said, making Naruto confused. Sakura and Sasuke were excited about completing a C-rank mission on their own, and Naruto watched both of them interact. He felt a bit let out since they were so close. They reached Konoha a few days later, and Hayate along with the purple-haired girl were waiting for Naruto. Cough. We got a bit of training left. Cough. Hayate said as Naruto followed after them. Training? Sasuke and Sakura asked Kakashi. To help him with his kenjutsu, not many in Konoha use weaponry, Kakashi said before taking his team to the tower. Sakura was walking to Naruto's house since she wanted to test her new power against Naruto. She giggled to herself at how much she sounded like Sasuke. Her mouth was hanging open when she noticed Ino climb the stairs of Naruto's apartment. It lowered when the platinum blonde opened the door with the number that Naruto lived in. Sakura took a breath before walking to the apartment. A smile grew on her face when Naruto opened the door and put Ino out. You're no fun, I'll see you later then, Ino said before turning to walk away. Sakura, what are you doing here? Ino said, making Naruto look out his doorway towards the pink-haired Kunoichi. Just came to hang with my teammate. Imp, Sakura said with a smile as the dragon poked his head out and snarled in a happy tone. After learning of the dragon's existence, Sakura would treat it like a dog and not a savage creature that could slice her head off. The dragon rushed towards her and Sakura began to pet its head. Oh god, what is that? It's so ugly, Ino said with disgust. Imp isn't ugly, I find him to be very cute, Sakura said as Ino looked at the dragon that flicked his tongue at her. Ino shivered before telling Naruto to forget about their spars. The platinum blonde fled from Naruto's place as fast as possible, especially after Imp tried to get her to pet him. Spars? Sakura asked as Naruto went inside his apartment. She came a while ago asking for help, Naruto said before going into his fridge to bring out 2 cans of juice. Is she strong? Sakura asked, making Naruto look at her. Not really, considering she comes from a prestigious clan. Why are you here? Naruto said as Sakura looked at her teammate. She was still surprised at how much he could talk and how much comfort and warmth his voice gave her. I want to see how strong I have become, Sakura said with a shy voice. Good, since I am going to need someone fill the gap that Ino made, Naruto said before summoning his scythe and walking outside with Sakura. I won't be able to train long, since I need to cook dinner for my family. I always do it on Sunday, Sakura said with a smile. I understand, Naruto said as they came to their team's training ground. Imp was latched on Naruto, which made Sakura look at him. I don't want to hurt Imp, Sakura said, making the dragon laugh. He doesn't get hurt easily and it helps keep things more fair between us, Naruto said, making Sakura nod her head. She got into a fighting style Kakashi was teaching her. It involved a strong combination of kicks and punches, where the user had to be able to switch from one strike to the other. It favored the upper body since Sakura had a killer left hook. She rushed Naruto and he began to move back from the strikes. This is the speed that Sasuke showed on the bridge. I wonder how much stronger he has become, Naruto thought as Sakura rained down strike after strike on him. Naruto turned and tried to deliver a chop to Sakura's head, but she blocked it by bending all the way forward, making one of her legs fly as if she was doing a front flip. Naruto flinched from the force Sakura hit his wrist with. Sakura turned while on her hands and used her second leg to strike Naruto in the back on his knee. Naruto fell back. Sakura turned and drove her ankle on his stomach. Imp had jumped off Naruto after he stared to fall. That hurt, Naruto said after Sakura stopped attacking. She worried her teammate was hurt. Naruto stood before dusting himself and Imp climbed on him again. That was a nice combo. You're a fast thinker and was able to capitalize with ease. Also, your flexibility caught me off guard. You are becoming a wonderful kunoichi. Naruto said, making Sakura blush. But I can't compare to you and Sasuke. Sakura said with embarrassment. Then you shouldn't. Naruto said, making Sakura look at him with a pained look. Sasuke and I are a lot different from you. Find what you are good at, stop trying to walk the path we took. You have your own destiny to follow. Naruto said before putting his scythe up. Where are you going? Sakura asked. She had hoped to train a bit more. I've always been impressed at the amazing way you can control your chakra, something I can never do. Perhaps we can find something in my library to help you. Naruto said, making Sakura look at him in disbelief. But won't that be like me taking your clan's secrets? Sakura said, making Naruto pause. I don't have a clan, I was born alone. Naruto said before continuing to his house. I never knew Naruto was so lonely. Sakura thought as the tall side user walked farther from her. Sakura quickly ran after him. Sakura entered Naruto's home and for the first time actually paid attention to it. The place was small and crammed with shelves that were overflowing with books and scrolls. She noticed no decorations, nothing that made the place look like a home. Sakura figured that all Naruto knew was fighting and that his apartment was only a place for him to sleep and eat at. Naruto, why isn't there any pictures of you? Sakura asked since she had not noticed a single frame holding a memory. Never had to take one before. Naruto said, making a pain grow in Sakura's heart. She turned to him and saw him reading some of the books that revolved around genjutsu. This brought some interest to Sakura since she can't ever remember him using the deceiving art. I always wanted to use genjutsu, it is a very interesting subject, but I could never get the control needed to work the delicate jutsus. I still read into the subject so to not be caught off guard. Perhaps you can put to good use this forgotten section. Naruto said as Sakura noticed how dusty the place was. But then again, Naruto's place looked like little care was put into it. She let out a smile as Imp was flapping his wings, making the dust fly out of the apartment. Naruto, why don't you find me some beginner scrolls and something to guide me as I train? In the meantime, I'm going to make you something to eat as a thank you. Sakura said, making Naruto turn to her. You can cook? Naruto asked, making Sakura grow a tick mark on her forehead. Of course I can, I wouldn't be a girl if I couldn't. Now get the things I am going to need while I see what we have here. Sakura said, opening the fridge. Her eyes grew when she noticed nothing but can juice in it. Her eyes grew more when she noticed they came from vending machines. Other than that, it was a few scrolls with the word meat on it. Snake, deer, boar, bear, wolf, tiger. Is this some kind of spices you use to marinate the meat with? Sakura said, making Naruto look at her. Okay, I'm going to have to go to convenience store and get something real quick. Sakura said, making Naruto stand up. You sit down and continue at that, I'm just going to need some money. Sakura said, extending her hand out at Naruto. Naruto brought out a green frog wallet that completely smashed his image. Sakura giggled because the green frog looked too cute for someone as deadly as Naruto to carry. This is a lot of money. Sakura said, holding a 10,000 ryo bill. It's the smallest one I have at the moment. Naruto said, making Sakura look at him. She tucked it into a purse she hid in her shinobi pouch before heading to the door. Sakura looked to her feet as Imp was looking at her. Want to tag along? Sakura said, making the dragon try to make a smile. Sakura laughed since the dragon looked more ferocious than happy. Sakura walked with the dragon as they went to the convenience store that was closest to Naruto's apartment. With the money Naruto gave me, I can buy enough to make my parents their food, but then again, Naruto does eat a lot. I know I'll make some beef stew that should help keep his stomach down. I don't have to worry about buying meat with the scrolls he has in the fridge. Is Naruto allergic to anything? Sakura asked, making Imp shake his head to say no. Anything he dislikes? Sakura asked, getting the same response. I see, hopefully I won't change that. Sakura said before getting the things she needed and going to go pay. As they went to Naruto's home, Sakura noticed that she was being followed and not by one person only. She turned her head back and made whoever it was go into hiding. We should hurry, Sakura said, not liking the area since it looked to be filled with the filth of Konoha. She couldn't imagine how her teammate could stand to live here. Get that thing out of here. A woman yelled as shinobi were keeping a mob from going into the apartment grounds. It's poisoned our homes. A man yelled with rage, throwing a bottle at Naruto's apartment. Imp let out a roar Sakura had never heard before and saw it began to show a red river of magma between its rock armor. The monster let his demon out. A teenager yelled, making the villagers run away. Imp calmed down and stood next to Sakura. You're Haruno, right? Naruto and Sasuke's teammate. A Junin she had never met asked. Yes, Sakura said with hesitation since the man had a cold look towards Naruto's apartment. You should be careful, people don't really like Naruto and seeing you come here makes them think he is trying to take advantage of you. Follow the Yamanaka girl's example and just stay away. It's for your own good. The shinobi said before disappearing. That was rude, Sakura said as Imp growled. But he is right. It's best if you don't return after today. We can meet at the training ground after lunch, but I don't want to get you in trouble. Naruto said as Imp climbed up his shoulder. Sakura felt that unfamiliar pain return as Naruto went to his apartment. At least let me finish cooking for you. This is more food than my family can eat and it would be a shame to let it go to waste. Sakura said, making Naruto turn to her before giving her a nod. Here is the scroll with all the genjutsu I own, and with the extra copies I got on breaking the art of genjutsu. Naruto said, putting a fat scroll on the counter near the door. Why don't you go sit while I make dinner? I got enough time to finish and eat here until my parents come home. Sakura said, getting Naruto to nod his head and sit at his couch and pull out a new book. Why don't you watch TV? Sakura said, feeling the silence to be unnatural. Imp was staying by her feet and she threw the extra fat from the bear to the dragon. You mean the television? Naruto said, making Sakura laugh. Yes, there is some good shows based on the wonders of the world, also you can hear the news of the elemental nations. In fact, the weekend update will be on at any moment, put it on channel 5. Sakura said, making Naruto look at the TV. I'll do it. This TV is old, you should get a new one. Sakura said, making Naruto look at her. Is it broken? Naruto asked, making Sakura laugh. No, but there are better ones, bigger ones too. In fact, this whole place needs a makeover. Sakura said with a half-joking tone, making Naruto look around his apartment. You don't like it? Naruto asked, making Sakura turn to him. Not that, I like it, but don't you feel crowded? Look at how you hardly have room to walk. You should probably find a bigger place to live in and get new furniture and maybe a second room to make into a study. Sakura said, making Naruto nod his head and a smile grow on her face. I know, how about after tomorrow's training we go find you a new place? Sakura said with excitement. Would it not bother you? Naruto said, making Sakura laugh. No, my afternoon is usually off. Sakura said before returning to the kitchen to cook. Everyone is excited as the next Chunin exam comes to Konoha. A voice said, making Naruto look at the TV. Yes, it's been almost 4 years since the village had been able to hold the competition. A woman said with excitement. Konoha's lineup has yet to be decided, but many rumors have been reported. The man said as a screen behind them showed an image of Konoha. Everyone is excited about one name, and that is Uchiha Sasuke. Word has leaked that the last Uchiha was responsible for the death of Momochi Zabuza. The woman said with a dreamy voice. That might be to the women of the world, but the true name to look out for has no face. I'm talking about the black god of death, Uzumaki Naruto. He had left many spectators speechless during the tournament he had participated in Iowa a few months ago. We had finally obtained the footage that shows his skill. Our own shinobi analysis will walk us through the fight. The man said as a fat man sat while the footage was going to play. Many villages had felt over the years that Iowa would make things to its favor during the Chunin exams it throws. This is a clear example. Watch as these 4 massive fighter rush in on the Konoha Nin using a box formation. A formation that is almost impossible to escape from. However, Konoha shows that they can do the impossible and do it in style. The man said as the footage shows Naruto defeating his opponents. There was yellow lines drawn on the image as the man pointed out how the fight was going and what key parts were important. You've participated in a Chunin exam. Sakura said in shock, dropping the pot she was holding. Imp quickly caught it, not spilling any food. It was no big thing. Naruto said as the rest of the tournament passed. Naruto saw how his style had so many openings. He promised to thank Hayate and the Anbu lady for their help. Many were upset at Iwa's decision not to promote this reincarnation of death or the two shinobi that had teamed up together to pass to the next round. Though Iwa had said the fight was going to be one-on-one, they had not named who was going to fight who, and as you can tell, neither of the three Iwa nin attacked the ones next to each other. However, this was not enough for Soma Yuki the Sea Dragon, Yugito ni the Fire Cat, and Uzumaki Naruto the God of Death. Watch as the Kumo and Kiri nin launch separate attacks which are then combined by the wind made by Naruto. The wind prevent fire and water from touching each other before the new S-class jutsu collided on the Iwa trio, which was named Chaos Strike by the God of Death. This is Madden Guy saying goodnight. The man said before the image returned to the newsroom. Explain. Sakura said, turning off the TV and making Naruto look at her. Konoha needed to send a representative and the Hokage felt Naruto was the one most skilled at the job. Kakashi said from the door. The genin turned to their instructor. I heard about the mob and came to see how you were doing. Something smells good. I hope you two haven't been doing anything behind sensei's back. However, if you did, I would understand. The bonds of love have been known to form among those that fight together. Kakashi said, making Sakura blush. Imp laugh and Naruto look at him in confusion. I had a quick spar with Sakura to evaluate what you have been teaching her. She offered to make dinner as a thank you. Naruto said, making Kakashi nod his head. Right, but don't think sensei isn't here to support you two love birds. So can I have some? Kakashi said, sitting down at the small table. Sure. Sakura said after seeing Naruto didn't care. Naruto stood and followed Sakura as she went to get the necessary serving plates. Naruto, why is it that you have everything need to cook but don't? Sakura said while washing some bowls and spoons. I have a small grill at the balcony, that is where I cook my food. Naruto said, making Sakura turn to him in disbelief. She had dropped the bowl she was cleaning and Imp caught it before it could break. So that's what you do? Drink can juice all day while eating strange barbecued meats? Sakura said, making Naruto nod his head. That's not right. From now I'm making you a bento every day, you too. Sakura said while bending down to pick up the bowl in Imp's claws. She tickled his belly before coming back up. That would cause you an inconvenience, won't it? Naruto said, making Sakura look at him over her shoulder. Not if you pay me to do it. Besides, sensei always shows up late, so I have more than enough time to get everything I need done in the morning. Sakura said, placing the 6 bowls on the table. She served Kakashi, Naruto and Imp before serving her parents. She got some saran wrap and sealed the bowls. I'm going to take this to my parents later, is that okay? Sakura said, getting a nod from Naruto. This is really good, you going to get a great wife one day. Kakashi said before punching Naruto on the forearm. Naruto, why don't you take that thing off? Sakura said after wondering how the food phased through his silk screen. People are nicer this way. Naruto said before raising the bowl to drink all the leftover soup. It's getting late, this was an excellent meal, we should do this again next week. Kakashi said while standing up and preparing to leave. Don't you keep her here too long or rumors are going to spread. Kakashi said with a teasing tone before closing the door. I got to leave, do you mind cleaning everything? Sakura asked before noticing Naruto had finished off the little food she and Kakashi had left and that main pot was empty and Imp had a bowl with a full plate he was going to start on. Thank you, Sakura. It was delicious. Kakashi is right in saying you will make someone a great wife. Let me walk you to your house. Naruto said before standing. Sakura was amazed how much taller he was than her. She figured he was almost around Kakashi's height. His broad shoulders showed a hint of his power. Sakura used to be so scared by the way Naruto looked when growing up, especially considering what the village would call him. They stepped out of the apartment and Sakura walked between Imp and Naruto. It was a silent walk, and when Sakura's house came to view, Naruto stopped. I enjoyed your company, thank you for everything. Naruto said before handing Sakura the fat scroll and enough money to pay everything she did that night for the rest of the week. I hope that is enough to continue to eat your cooking. Naruto said, making Sakura smile. It's more than enough, I'll see you tomorrow. Sakura said before Naruto headed home. She didn't know why, but she watched as Imp and her teammate kept walking until they became dots to her. That's the Uzumaki boy, right? Kaide said, making her daughter turn. Yeah, it's Naruto. Sakura said as her mother had a face she had never seen. The woman was struggling with her feelings. The demon Kyuubi had cost everyone so much, but she knew that the blonde was human. She had tried to get revenge for her slaughtered family and was going to slit Naruto's throat one day he slept in the Hokage's office. However, the boy had let out a few tears. She didn't know why he cried, but at the moment he was like any other boy. You never talk about him. The older pink-haired woman said before turning to her daughter. You never asked, all you wanted to know was about Sasuke-kun. Sakura said, making her mother grow a scold. You should have still talked about him. Let's go inside and you can tell me a bit now. Tsukumo said before they went in. Where's Dad? Sakura asked. Out on a mission, Tsukumo said with a cold voice. Sakura knew her mother had started to doubt her father's loyalty lately. Oh, then I'll save this for tomorrow. Sakura said before opening the scroll that said food. 2 bowls of bear stew appeared. That looks delicious. What kind of meat is this? Tsukumo said, taking a bowl. It's bear. Naruto caught it himself. Sakura said, making Tsukumo look at her in disbelief. Where did he get bear? Tsukumo asked. He wouldn't say, but it has to be near. The meat is extremely fresh. Sakura said as her mother ate with hesitation before the rich flavor made her forget her doubts. It tastes so much better than regular beef stew. What else do you know about Naruto? Tsukumo asked as Sakura began to make tea. He has a dragon as a partner. Sakura said, making her mom look at her with a bored face. I know, he's had Imp since he was newborn, you can't separate them. Tsukumo said, making her daughter's mouth drop. I didn't know Imp was so old. Wait, why do you know that? Sakura said, making her mom look at her daughter with a mad, disappointed face. Do you know what my job is? Tsukumo said, making Sakura shake her head to say no. I'm part of the council, you can be so dumb sometimes. Tsukumo said, making her daughter feel bad. Before Naruto started the academy, we had to prevent the village from hurting him because all the pranks he used to pull. That boy was a real hell-raiser. I think only the Hokage at the time could see the true face of Naruto. Tsukumo said, making her daughter look at her. True face? Sakura asked. When Naruto was little he would always smile, a smile that light up the world. He was always happy and running around with endless energy. That was not the real Naruto, that boy only had Imp at his side. The Hokage would check in on him, but there was only so much he could do. Naruto is extremely special, so the village hates him because of it and the council wishes to turn him into a weapon. Everyone knows the Hokage wants Naruto to become Godime. Tsukumo said, making her daughter appear at her desk. I didn't know. Sakura said, making her mother laugh. That's because you are not supposed to know. No one knows how Naruto came to the village, just that one day the Hokage was carrying a newborn named Uzumaki Naruto. He wouldn't say anything else, and then Imp came and would care and protect Naruto. Naruto, according to the Hokage, was born during Kyuubi's attack, but there is no record of him in the hospital. And the last Uzumaki that had visited the village left 2 years before the attack, never to be seen again. Sometimes I feel great sadness for the boy, but to everyone that sees him he is a reminder of a dark day. There is so many unknown things about him and people hate being left in the dark. Tsukumo said as she looked at the bowl of food. Why didn't you ever say anything? Sakura asked. Because I wanted to see for myself if the rumors were true. I wanted to see what kind of person Naruto was. All I've learned is that he is hard-working and overall a kind boy. So what have you learned? Tsukumo asked her daughter. He is really strong and is always watching over me. I probably would have died on our first C rank if it hadn't been for him. Sakura said, making her mother study her. The pink-haired girl had used a tone she had saved for Sasuke. Did you know he is engaged to Hinata? What, that's not possible. When did that happen? Does Naruto know? Sakura said with a frantic voice. I'm just kidding. Tsukumo said with a laugh before eating as her daughter glared at her. Plus asterisk plus. 2 weeks passed and Naruto was walking to his new home. Naruto had never seen Sakura so violent as the time that the real estate agent had tried to kick him out. The pink-haired Kunoichi chewed out and threatened to report the man to the Hokage personally about the mistreatment of a Konoha nin. The same scene had played over at multiple stores as they went around the village getting everything Sakura considered to be necessary for a person of Naruto's age. Sakura was walking half a block from Naruto. She was going to talk to him about chakra manipulation. She had been amazed at all the things Naruto had learned and was willing to teach her about. However, Ino had found her and started to rave about how she was going to win Sasuke-kun. During the time that Naruto had gone to the Chunin exams and while Sakura was keeping Naruto entertained with questions, the raven-haired boy was walking the village with arrogance and waiting for what little chance possible to flex his power. The Uchiha found his teammate a great excuse to fight since so many talked ill about him. Sakura had told Ino which way Sasuke had gone to since she wanted to hurry and talk to Naruto, something her rival found weird. Both girls were walking behind the side user and neither felt they could call out to him. They heard a little girl scream before Naruto disappeared into a puff of black smoke. Sakura and Ino ran to the spot they heard the scream come from. Sakura hoped nothing dangerous was going on since they were supposed to take it easy with the Chunin exams being here in a week. Kakashi had given Sakura and Sasuke an application. He informed them that Naruto had his filled in advance. Kankuro, a teenage blonde, said as Ino and Sakura came around the corner into the alley. Two children were near them as a third was being lifted by the shirt into the air by a shinobi they had never seen before. Naruto had tucked his scythe under the shinobi's manhood and made it reach up to his face. "Release him," Naruto said, pulling on his scythe lightly, making it come in contact with the shinobi's skin. "Whatever you say," the shinobi said before letting go of the boy. Naruto disappeared with a puff of smoke and reappeared with the boy in his hands and now in front of the other children. "Normally there is a penalty for hurting the Hokage's grandson," Naruto said with a cold tone. "However, this incident was your fault, wasn't it?" Naruto said, turning his head to look at the boy. "I wasn't paying attention while running," the boy said with shame. "You almost caused some international turmoil. Forgive Konohamaru for his foolishness. He is young and has yet to learn to identify people by their chakra," Naruto said before placing a hand on Konohamaru's head and both bowed. "I don't want the children of the Cage to feel that Konoha is ignorant and harsh. Allow me to treat the three of you to dinner," Naruto said, making everyone in the alley confused since there was only two Sunanin. "You could sense me," a boy with red hair said from near a tree. He was hanging under it and his sudden appearance made his siblings uneasy. "Naruto!" Ino yelled as kunai and shuriken hit the black-clad shinobi. He became a puff of black smoke before a log appeared with the projectiles in it. "You promised me a meal," a girl the people in the alley had never seen before said while standing in a tree opposite of Gaara's. Naruto reappeared a few inches from the spot he had been at. "You two are strong," the redhead said before clutching his head. "You tell Shukaku to lighten up," Yugito ni said before appearing at Naruto's side. "His power can't compare to Nibi's, much less that of Naruto's," Yugito said, making everyone look at her. "We should leave Gaara," the blonde Sunanin said as she began to get that dark feeling from Gaara, but this time it was coming from the girl. It made her more scared than what Gaara had before. "What is your names?" the redhead said before appearing in front of his fellow Jinchuriki. "Yugito ni Vessel of the Two-Tail," Yugito said, making Gaara's siblings step back in shock. "Uzumaki Naruto," Naruto said before turning his back to Gaara. Without warning, a pillar of sand shot at Naruto. It was intercepted by a blue flame. Naruto turned his head to look and saw the flames was coming from Yugito. "Back off one tail before I show you the true way to use yokai," Yugito said before blue flames formed in her left hand. Gaara stopped his attack before leaving with his siblings. "Wait," Naruto said, making the Sunanin turn to him. "I promised you a meal," Naruto said, offering a 20,000 ryo bill. Sand took the money and brought it over to Gaara before they left. "Is it always this fun in your village?" Yugito said, turning to Naruto with a smile. "You need a new definition of fun," Naruto said before Yugito did something that left Ino and Sakura speechless. She took Naruto's hand. "Can we talk in private? I have some important things to tell you," Yugito said with a tone Sakura didn't like. "I have the week off so you can have all the time you want," Naruto said, making Yugito smile. Good because I've been wanting to be with you for the longest. Yugito said, making Ino's and Sakura's mouth drop. That's a weird thing to say, I'll show you the ramen stand I had promised you. Naruto said before walking with Yugito at his side. What is that about? Ino said and noticed a look of confusion and pain from Sakura. So friends, this was part 2 of this dark and intense journey. If you enjoyed it and want the next part soon, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also comment down your thoughts. Do you think Naruto will control the Darkblade, or will it consume him? I'll see you in the next part.